intending to transmit, and the party would encrypt the transmission using the public key and sending it back to the corporation. Well, the only thing that can unencrypt a transmission encrypted with a public key is the private key that matches it. The private key is very difficult to guess, very, very, very difficult to guess. Without that private key, though, you are unable to unencrypt a message that's been encrypted with the public key. And so only that corporation that sent you the public key has the private key, and then they unencrypt or decrypt that message. So the way this works is we have Provident Community Bank, and our user here is Susan. Okay. Provident Community Bank has a public key and a private key. Susan wants to send a message, and Provident sends Susan their public key. Susan's computer uses that to encrypt Susan's message, sends that back to Provident Community Bank encrypted, and then Provident uses their private key to decrypt the message. That's basically what happens in the PKI schema. Steganography is writing a message in such a way that no one other than the recipient knows. So basically what you have is a picture, any picture actually. It could be a picture of your family. There's nothing special about the original picture. The recipient has the original picture. And then what you do is you post a slightly modified version of the picture. It's modified so slightly that it would be impossible for the human eye to detect the modification. But a computer could detect it only when it compares it with the original. So the person that you are sending the encrypted message to has the original. You post an altered version of the photo out on the web, and then the person downloads the altered version and decrypts the message. VPNs are a connection with a remote computer or a remote network over an untrusted medium, but everything about the connection is encrypted. A VPN then creates this secure tunnel over which you can pass all sorts of information that you want to keep protected and secured, but it's passed over an unsecured network, i.e. the internet. So if you have a VPN tunnel in use between your corporation's server and, let's say, one of your corporation's employees out on the road, that VPN network, if you will, uses an encryption key, the same one, at both the network end and at the remote end out in a hotel laptop someplace, used by your employee. And that employee then sends normal traffic across that VPN tunnel, if you will. It travels across the internet encrypted, arrives back at the corporate server, is unencrypted at the corporate server, and then travels the rest of the way throughout the corporation unencrypted. That's what a VPN network is all about. They're very good security. Of course, they require that the end computer, or the laptop, if you will, that your employee is carrying with him doesn't fall into the hands of any bad guys somewhere, so that they could steal that and then get access to the VPN network. Also, it's possible for somebody to inadvertently give away the passcodes to the VPN network, and then that would allow someone with those passcodes to have access to your network. So basically the way this works is you have the internet out there, which is not a secured network, and you have both two computers at either end. One presumably is the corporate server, the other one would be a remote location, and somebody at the remote location then encrypts a message, and that message travels encrypted to the end location, gets unencrypted, and then appears in the clear, and then it works exactly the same way in the opposite direction. So that both of these people can use their computers as though there's no encryption happening, and at the operating system level it encrypts everything that's being sent between them. Okay, so brief review here. This domain, the cryptography domain, we've talked about PKI, steganography, virtual private networks. These are things that would need to be addressed. You would need to have policies for them. You would need to have proper enforcement of the use of these sorts of things. And I might add a common and growing practice in security is to encrypt large amounts of the data on your hard drives. In this way, if a hacker breaks in and tries to download data, he's downloading encrypted data. This slows the performance internal to the network, but it does provide a pretty good measure of protection against hackers downloading, say, customer data files or credit card files or that sort of thing. If it's encrypted, then it's considered to still be protected, even though the hacker has it, because it will take the hacker so long to break into the encryption that it's not worth his time to try. He won't live that many lifetimes. Okay, now that we've seen some discussion of the content and concerns in domain number 5, cryptography, let's take a look at 3 questions that will be part of your manager's audit. The first is, are we encrypting data on our servers hard drives? And the data that we're interested in asking about particularly is anything sensitive to the company, whether that be customer data or proprietary company data, anything that you wouldn't want people outside the company to get their hands on. Do we encrypt that as it's stored on the hard drives? If not, should we be doing so? Probably so. But if you're not, you at least need to document the discussion as to why you've chosen not to do that. Okay, number 2, are our company's e-commerce sites encrypting our customers, partners, and vendors' data during transmission? This just is asking the question, do you have security certificates installed on your websites, and are those security certificates being used to encrypt data as your people, as the users of your website transmit sensitive data such as credit cards? Then question number 3 here, does our company use VPNs to allow our people to communicate with us remotely? Now, again, this is mostly going to just apply to your employees communicating with your servers from remote sites. And so what do we do to protect those distant end computers from being stolen or misused and thereby compromising VPN access to our servers? So those are the 3 questions that we have for domain number 5 here. And let's take a look now at the executive overview of the concerns in domain number 6. The 6th domain here is access control. In the 6th domain, we look for methods that allow administrators and managers to control what users can access, their capabilities after authentication, in other words, what they'll have access to after they get authenticated and authorized, and then the auditing of these activities. So, in this domain, we focus on authentication controls, password don'ts, passphrases, tokens. We've talked a little bit already about biometrics, and then we'll mention this concept of 2- and 3-factor authentication. Authentication controls should include something you know, like password or a PIN, something you have, like a token, which might be, say, a magnetic strip on an ID card or something like that, and then something that you are, some biometric, like your fingerprint or your retinal scan or something like that.